Okay, my wonderful friends, some outstanding news today. This just came out. Scientists find new way to supercharge lasers by 1,000,000 times. Listen to this. It says scientists from UK and South Korea may have found a new technique could ramp up the power of scientific lasers 1,000,000 times or more. And what are they basing this on? They're basing this on compression. All it is compression of the particle waves. And it says, hold on one second. All right, you see this here? Laser plasma accelerators, and that's what we have. Thousands of times smaller than conventional accelerators. And that's exactly what we created with the Venturi effect. Okay, they're using computer simulations to create laser pulses 1,000 times stronger than currently. And I agree with that. That's probably true. They suggest using the gradient in density of plasma, make it more dense, which is fully ionized matter. It means it's strictly just electron particles, fully ionized, to cause photons to bunch together. Precisely what the Venturi does. All right, this is about as convoluted as they can make it so they can make it sound important. It says, we propose a new method of compressing the laser pulses to ultra-high powers based on spatially how close these particles are, varying dispersion where they are, in an inhomogeneous plasma. All right, as I've been talking about it, all we are doing is crushing the fields. They're proposing a new method of crushing the laser pulses to ultra-high powers. Fully ionized, strictly separate the white from the black. We've done this already. They're talking about computer simulations. Because I don't think anybody has ever done this other than Rod Warren and myself. And a couple other people that we showed how to do it, but they're using computer simulations to increase, supercharge the lasers by millions of times. And yes, I agree that you can do this, but you do it with a Venturi. And they say it's just a very, very simple add-on. They don't even tell you how they're doing it. They just say that they figured it out. Well, we figured it out long ago, and we're actually doing it. See, this is all over the news now. To find new way to supercharge lasers. Here's another one, HelperNet. Scientists find new way to supercharge lasers 4 days ago. Scientists find new way to choose. They all parrot the same thing over and over. Well, scientists find new way to supercharge lasers millions of times. 17 hours ago, new physics. Scientists find new ways. Yes, all it is the Venturi. Okay, once again, victim of the algorithm, we all are. They would not even consider this. It goes back to 2016. I presented this to Fermilab and CERN and everybody, and they refused to engage because I'm not peer-reviewed. And what I said was that the dipole nature of particles is what everything's based on, and that we could accelerate light and create these showers of particles that they claim to have just created today. Now watch this video. This goes way back to 2016. And this is the video. Now, I don't have this channel. I don't use this channel anymore because it got just destroyed because of I wasn't allowed to post. I wasn't, they just destroyed me in every which way. But if you come way out to here, I explain the theory behind it and how the particles come through. But here it is. Here's the particles. And again, this is 2016. This isn't just last week. And here's the particles, and here they are. They're the red and the green. They're all the same, the particles. There's the red ones. There's the green ones. Same particle. And then we put them through this is just standard light, not accelerated. And then we put them, this shows that light spins in a circle. And then we put it through the accelerator, and here goes through the accelerator. The light accelerated, and it splashed here, creating thousands of times more energy than back here. Energy is luminosity. And they're claiming that they just figured it out, but they got a computer simulation. This is the real thing. I'll read you the whole paper. It'll only take about a minute. is a very simple explanation. Many experiments need to confirm this theory. Atomic theory in light is misunderstood. It's not understood. Academia needs to examine this evidence, not ignore it, because they told me to go away, don't ever come back. These are considered facts. Light has no mass. That is wrong. Light is a fixed speed. Wrong again. Neutrons are neutral. Wrong again. After this, it's pure guesswork, and it's not worth going into. But I show the actual physical evidence. Now, these are the observed empirical facts. Neutrons are not neutral and are not found alone. They are simply found with protons, and they're just nothing more than bigger masses of particles. There's one extra. A proton has one less, and it's a charged particle. The neutron has an even number, and it's not a charged particle. That's all that matters. And they're all made out of the same particles, which is dipole electrons. Neutrons are slightly more massive. Electrons are found alone, and they can be found alone. They call them gluons. Electrons are tiny, about 1,800 times smaller than neutrons. Conclusion, neutrons are actually negative, which, forget that. Forget about all that stuff. Here's the deal. Light and dark forms of energy. Light leaves the sun as energetic particles. No question whatsoever. Light pushes solar sails, implying weight, which has a mass, and they say it has no mass. Light hits solar cells and displaces the electrons, creating electric flow. We all know that. Light grows biomass, plants, and increases weight according to how much light you have, how much wattage. That is, light grows because it's collecting electrons. Plants grow because they're collecting electrons. Light is not seen as it transits space to Earth. It just winks on and off every now and then as it bangs into other things. But other than that, you don't see it. Light still has mass and energy in the not vacuum of space as it transits. Space is not a vacuum. That's insanity. Light is actually dark matter and dark energy. It's dark matter and dark energy. The black part holds on to the white part, and the black part is the dark energy and dark matter. And you don't see it as it travels in a vacuum. And then I just showed you the video showing the electrons. And it says, as a result, the experiments I have developed what appears to be a greatly enhanced solar collector needs to be patented. And that finally I gave up. Nobody listened, not the damn person. So it's just the way it works. All right, this is the problem. I just did this about social media. They have me off the algorithm. You can't get to me unless you search for me. And even then, you have a hard time finding me. I have a hard time finding myself. I'm not kidding you. I keep posting this over and over about light shown to speed up and slow down. Light is not constant speed. Light can create these showers of electrons. Exactly what they say. And this is their big article about it today. Is that they have discovered this way of increasing the energy of lasers millions of times. And that's exactly what I just showed you. When you see the brightness of what I just showed you here, that from almost darkness to this is it could be millions of times. I have no idea. But the voltage, the energy value here is extraordinary compared to here, because there's nothing more. Luminosity means energy. That's energy, as much energy as you can get. Basically, look at it. It's exploding outwards. These fields are coming this way. You never even see them because they don't have enough energy to portray themselves. This one's getting a little bit of energy because it's being sucked forward. But these are just coming forward, and now they're being opposed backwards. That's why we can see them. Because this is just like an explosion. This is literally a subatomic explosion. There's no reason we can't get energy out of that right now and create literally free energy with a device like that. That's all this is a Venturi. And they say they figured out some very simple little thing. Yes, there's a Venturi. That's all it needs. And then that separates completely what they call complete ionization. That is complete ionization. That's completely white ions. Complete separation. And there's no reason we shouldn't be able to put it through a solar collector type receiver right down into the batteries, just like that, without doing anything else, nothing. And you could walk around with one of these in your hand. They're thousands and thousands and thousands of times smaller than the type of thing they're trying to do with protons. We're using electrons. We're using light. We're using photons. This is as good as it gets. And it's been denied, and I've been told to stay away from Fermilab. They actually told me that. They said, stay away from us. Don't ever contact us again. I said, well, I found your particles. Why don't you want to look at them? And I mean, I'm not kidding you. These are the particles that Fermilab found. And they still refuse to engage. This is the problem. Once they get a hold of something, they will keep you out of it. It's just to protect their own interests. It has nothing to do with our interests. It's their interests. See this right here? This is Fermilab, National Government Agency. This is our government supposed to be trying to get us something to help us. And this is point particles. These are the point particles that I discovered. I contacted Fermilab, and Don Lincoln, who I discussed it with many times, finally told me, don't ever contact us again. You're a tinfoil hat guy. We won't spend 1 minute looking at anything that you send us. Don't bother. Stay away. Basically, it's exactly what he said. And I have the same exact particles. I found these particles, and I know what they do, and we can recreate them all day long. And they do appear to increase the energy exponentially. And if that's the case, there's no reason we can't get free energy. And we're being stood in front of to stop. Don't contact us. And this was way back then. This was a long time ago that I was showing these particles, and he put up this showing these particles, same particles, identical same particles. And they work exactly the same way. He says that the black one has all the mass, and this one has no mass at all, but all the burn. I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. And I also agree with the fact that he says that there's a quantum foam in the universe, which is like a dizzying display of blinking on and off charged particles, subatomic particles. Empty space isn't empty. Same guy. And I'm not allowed to discuss this with them. And he's always asking, want a phrase defined, have a question? Anybody but me. All right, so here's my allegations, is that we sped up the light and made it shower into this enormous shower of high energy ionization. That's completely ionized white particles. There's a white and a black. Ionization means that just all you do is separate the white, and they are strictly ions. They're extra electrons. They are separated from the muons, electron neutrino, muon neutrino. And here's what they say right here. These are the Fermilab particles. There they are right there. We found them. This is them, exactly. This one can get bigger and smaller, has no mass to speak of. That has all the mass and cannot change. It's a fixed particle. It has a fuzzy edge around it. This is exactly what they say from Fermilab, and these are the exact particles, and they are from photons. And we captured them using CMOS, which now the CERN has adapted their equipment to be able to see CMOS. And I went to the University of Geneva, and I told them about CMOS, and then they did it. So I'm not saying I told them you can use CMOS, and they said, no, you can't. And I said, yes, you can, but you got to use light. You can't use the heavy particles like you're using, because they weren't filtering it. Now they did something to harden the CMOS so it won't destroy it. That's what they did. But they're still using these big heavy-duty particles. So when they smash things together, they get a chunk like this. It hits the CMOS. It normally would destroy it. But they did something to fix the CMOS so it won't be destroyed, but they can still use it to see. That's why we can see so well, because we're using CMOS. But we're only getting hit by a particle like that. And that's what the CMOS is designed to work with. It's not designed to get hit like a chunk like that. It just absolutely destroy it. So that's why they told me I was crazy. I couldn't use CMOS. I said, here it is. This is it. Oh, no, that's just a diffraction. It's this, is that. Don't ever contact us again. And I said, you're missing the boat, my friends. And I think now they understand, but they have no way to turn around because they look silly. And that was the muon neutrino, the electron neutrino, the black and white ball right here. All right, and two of them back to back make us a stable particle, which is light. A single one is not stable. It's electricity, it's static, it's heat. But two of them together are light, and they will bounce off of something and bounce back at you. All right, because they have a big field around them. And then that field, when it got crushed in the Venturi, which comes in like this, and very, 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 very tiny little slit here. So only the white can get through because it can squish down. The black hits and bounces back, and it just keeps banging, 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 squirting the white through. And here it is here. That's it. This is fission, right here. This is fusion. The black particles are dark matter. They never knew where they were. They are attached to the white matter that we see. The white matter is the only thing that we can see. The dark matter, the only reason we can see this dark matter here is because it's on top of the white, blocking the white from hitting us. Normally it's going to be behind the white. It would never be in front of the white. All right? And now they're rejoining back together. That's fusion, fission, fusion. Raw ionized electrons. Could be millions of times more energy. They say, this is an electron shower. You see an electron shower? This isn't my doodle. This came from Fermilab or CERN or Argonne or Lawrence Livermore, one of them. They show that this is what electron showers happen when you hit high energy particles, very extremely high energy particles, into heavy water. It creates Cherenkov radiation. Well, we don't have to do that. We can just do it in the air. We don't have to use any water because we're hitting another medium and separating the particles. So we end up with electron showers here. Exactly what they want. And electron showers are extremely powerful. All right, there is right here, physics of electron showers. Now they're creating proton-proton collisions, all these things with these huge colliders. You don't need to do that. We are in the micro version, but you always want to end up with neutrinos and electrons and muons, which are what I showed you before. You see this? Remember this. Muon and electron, basically. This makes a shower, but this is the electron, and this is the muon. Well, let's see what they have to say about creating high-energy electron showers and how much energy we can get back from those. All right, because they don't know how to do this, they have to go through all these gyrations, proton-proton collision, hadrons, all kinds of things. We started with the electrons and the muon neutrinos, which I just showed you. And the energy of those neutrinos can run from a few hundred giga-electron volts to a few trillion electron volts. And you're starting off with only mega-electron volts. So that's millions, and you're up to billions here, and you're up to trillions here. It depends on how you work this Venturi to crush these fields. Now, back, I don't know what it was, 2016, 2017, somewhere around there, I went to the University of Geneva for particle physics, and I told them exactly what we were doing, how we were creating electron showers, and we were able to see them with the CMOS, and we had to go back and forth quite a bit, because then I proved to them, yes, you could, but only if you were using light instead of protons. So now they come up with a high luminosity LHC, because luminosity is the fundamental component of energy. That's it. If the more energy, the more luminosity. And I showed you luminosity there is no more luminosity you can get. This is absolutely tragic, to be honest with you. They're saying the high luminosity Large Hadron Collider should be operational around 2029. It'll allow physicists to study known mechanisms in greater detail, such as the Higgs boson. I'll show you those. And observe rare new phenomena that might reveal themselves. For example, the high luminosity LHC will produce at least 15 million Higgs bosons per year, compared to around 3 million LHC in 2017. Now don't forget, they upgraded to do all the things I told them. You got to focus, and then you got to use the CMOS to be able to see. I know that sounds very arrogant and braggadocio, but it's exactly true. I told them back before 2017, they shut down for 3 years to do that upgrade, to focus and to be able to see with the CMOS. They never could before. Before they had what they call charge-coupled devices, and they'd have to put them in there and absorb some of the field. So every time they looked at something, it changed the values of it. Even Don Lincoln said the more you look at it, well, hold on. This is how little they understand about this. It's absolutely stunning. Listen to this. This is called the observer effect. Okay, now let me come right down in on this. And this, again, is the particles I showed you. Now, we use CMOS. CMOS, all you're doing is absorbing, so you're not interacting. They're interacting when they look because they couldn't use CMOS. He says, oh, no, you can't use CMOS. I said, yes, you can. Here's what he says. If you magnify an extended particle, which is this one, it will look bigger because if you magnify it, it looks bigger because it never changes. It never gets bigger or smaller. But listen to this. A point-like particle, this one here, will not change in size, but the more closely you look at it, the stronger the field surrounding it becomes. The field, because it's pushing back harder because you're pushing something into it to look at it. So they call that the observer effect. Oh, you can't look at it. This is unbelievable. They could possibly think this. The closer you look at it, the stronger the field surrounding it becomes. It's not because you're looking at it. It has nothing to do with looking at it. You're putting energy into it. We're sitting back with CMOS letting the energy hit us. That's the difference. And they did do this change. They did that. And they also focused. All right, they did both of the things that I mentioned. They upgraded CMOS detector and system development for LHC detector upgrades. This goes back to 2019, and they upgraded, and in 2022 they came back online, and they were getting very good results from this because they could now see with the CMOS. They could see much better than they could before. But still, they're just seeing debris. They're seeing particles just flying everywhere. They call it a zoo. That's fine. They can see them better. It didn't change the outcome. See, here's the same time again. New technologies for the high luminosity, which I'm talking about. And they put in focusing magnets to concentrate more powerful focusing. So they did exactly what I said, and now they are getting much better. But they're only getting, I think it was 15 million, something like that, 15 million hits a year. Yeah, 15 million Higgs bosons per year. Let me show you Higgs bosons. I could do that in 15 minutes. All right, this goes back to May of 2022 about the theory of Dirac dark matter, Higgs boson decays, and EDMs. Well, this is basically my work. It says they discuss a simple theory predicting the existence of a Dirac dark matter candidate. Exactly what I talk about. And then they talk about the theory of getting up into the trillions of electron volts using this matter, spontaneously breaking the local baryon number and all that, and then they're talking about the electric dipole moment of the electron. This is all basically the stuff that I've been posting for years. And then the theory could be tested at current or future experiments by combining the results from dark matter collider and electric dipole moment experiments. Electron dipole electron flood theory. That's my theory. Is that everything is made of dipole electrons, which means a positive and a negative little particle, and there's 1,823 in this proton. All right, that's what electron flood theory is. Now, and it's all about dipoles, and it's all about dark matter, and I said that these black spots were dark matter back in earlier than 2014 or so. And I have the paper, I think is 2015, about this up on academia.edu. I was going to call it nuclear electron theory because the electrons are inside the nucleus. They're not outside the nucleus floating around. So anyway, this was basically, looks like it's based on my work. You see this? This is back from 2016. I don't have this channel. I don't use this anymore because it got destroyed because they couldn't accept anything that I was presenting. And this is the fundamental, exact, identical things that Fermilab shows. And at that point, this is 2016, and I knew this long before that, but I posted vortex electrons, which are these spinning little particles, flow from the sun and hit the earth as light and heat. We all know that. They were from the sun and push sails and cause comets coma. That's what they do. They excite the comet. They were energy at the sun. They were energy in space, and they are energy on impact with Earth. they are simply dark in the vacuum of space. And I call it dark matter. See this side of here? Light is dark energy and dark matter in the vacuum of space. That's what I wrote back then. And I showed all the same particles that they're looking for. I found them. And here they are, the same ones in the green as they are in the red. And here's light before it gets accelerated. Here's light spinning. It doesn't flap like that. And this was all long ago I showed all this stuff. This is the way it spins. And here's light accelerating. Not supposed to do that. That freaked them out. And here's the particle itself. And then the particle displays itself in those little dipoles. And there are two diracs back to back. And then it has, this is the explosion. I show all of this stuff. I showed all of that long ago, and I called it dark matter is from light. Light is dark matter. Half of it anyway. Now, these are the Higgs. They say they can get 15 million Higgs in a year. I can get 15 million Higgs in a minimum, no question whatsoever, in 15 minutes. All right, this is Fermilab again. You see these are what's called neutrinos. They're the smallest bits of matter that they can find that exist. And there's a black ball and a white ball, and then they also see these in other variations where they're sort of black, sort of white, some, not quite equal. They call them Majorna neutrinos, and these are Dirac neutrinos. These are two separate particles, basically. Here, there's a bit of a confusion as to who's what. All right, just remember this. These are the Dirac neutrinos. They make up everything. They're the smallest particles that exist. And they also see them in the Majorna, and they're not quite as defined, basically. And here's what happens. Here they are right here. Remember the black and the white? I just showed you the Diracs. There's two Diracs back to back, which are just exactly identical to two-bar magnets, glued together, and they have one big field surrounding them, one big field. And when they hit something, they bounce back at you. That's what you see as light. You never see the dark particles. Now, here, you see this? This is the Majorna part of a neutrino. Before they become fully neutrino and photons, they go through these neutrino phases, and they stack up with different energy values. You see how these are sideways and these are flat? These are gaining more energy because they're directly in line with the Venturi. Down here, they're not as energetic. You'd never see them. The only reason we're seeing these particles is because of this interaction with the Venturi. And this is quite obvious. What you're seeing here is the particles that they had at Fermilab, the black and the white one, the muon, the electron neutrino. And the black one is dark matter. I'll tell you that right now. And again, this was, well, I don't know if I have it here. I guess it's here. Yeah, this is right from Fermilab. These are the two particles. If you can't see that, I don't know what's the matter with your vision. All right? And if you can't see that when we put them through the Venturi, it accelerated, first of all, and then the black separated from the white. Sterile muon electron showers. Precisely what they want to see in Cherenkov radiation. And the electron showers increases the energy value up into the giga-electron volts, or trillion electron volts, which is an absolutely enormous increase because the luminosity increases, and energy is based on luminosity. And if you can't see that luminosity increase from back here, again, I cannot help you if you just refuse to start to think. I'm not saying you have to accept everything I say instantaneously. I'm saying, look, what do you think is happening here? These are radiating backwards. I think I already talked about this, but you would never even see these. You'd never even see any of this stuff, except for the fact that is starting to be pulled forward in a vengeance. It's sucking itself right out of its own magnetic field. That's just stunning. And then, because of the explosion here, the blacks keep smashing against the white, and it's just like an atomic explosion. And you get fission and fusion. And at that point, you get all that radiation, which is luminosity, which is energy. So there's no reason we can't use that energy. So, somebody should be able to figure this out within days, literally. Now, CERN is talking about Higgs events at the Large Hadron Collider. These are the Higgs bosons. Now, what they're doing is smashing, hold on, let me turn the lights back on. They're smashing literally balls like this, which they think are just protons. And they're hitting them head on, and then they're getting all this debris go flying everywhere. All these little circular magnetic looking things going all over the place. And they think that's a big deal, and they can study these things for years and years and years, which they have. And all they are is, I'll show you exactly what they are. They're showing these, again, that's Higgs for them. This is Higgs for them. It's just a bunch of trash, really. It's just a bunch of debris. Some of them go flying, never come back, the blues and certain colors, because they're so very tightly attached to the core. The reds surround way on the outside, so they don't go too far. They sort of kept hanging around. Now, here's our Higgs fields right here. These are actual real Higgs. These are what they actually look like if you could see them, and you can, because we use CMOS. And at this point, we're looking directly into the Venturi. All right, this is nothing more than white here, and they're starting to recombine out here. When you recombine the white back to the black, that's when you see the Higgs. It's not breaking them apart. They have it totally backwards. They think that when you break apart these particles, you get the Higgs. It's just the opposite. You see this? This is just wrong, just completely wrong. It says when two protons, which is these things here, which are not just one big ball like this, they're batches like this. So when they hit, it's just splatter. Now it says when two protons collide within this high energy collider, it's their constituent quarks and gluons that interact with one another. And these are really what gluons are. That would be considered a gluon. It's a positive and a negative particle built into one, which I call dipole electron. They call gluon. Same thing. All right, so they interact with each other. These high energy interactions through well predicted quantum effects, they're not well predicted, they don't understand them at all, produce a Higgs boson. All right, so when they smash together, they produce a Higgs boson. It's actually just the opposite. When they come back together, they create the Higgs boson. So they say when the high energy interactions through well-defined quantum effects produce a Higgs boson from smashing, it immediately transforms or decays into lighter particles. No, the lighter particles add together to make the Higgs boson. And I can show you that. There's virtually no question about that. But you have to break the white away from the black first. And then when the black and white come back together, that's when you get the Higgs boson. And they can't see this because of the total debris that they're working. They're working with just a collision of particles that they can't understand because we have them in a coherent light source. We can see when the white comes back out here all by itself, the next thing that happens is it combines with the black and turns into these Higgs fields. And now we could do this all day long. We could create billions of these in a few hours. And they're talking about 15 million or something. It's a big deal. Anyway, and we have them in the green too. The green do the same thing. They have these Higgs fields. This with the Venturi was just a little bit offset, and only the black, and all the black went this way with some white, and only white went this way. So you can separate the black and the white. That's not a big problem. It's just that the engineering need to be figured out a little bit, and then the receiving particle, the solar panel basically, have to be engineered. But outside of that, very, very simple. What have I not shown you? I've shown you the green. I showed you the green up here. Same particle as the red. It's identical. There is no difference whatsoever. And here's the neutrino phase, and then it gets to that. This one's getting ready to charge up to flip, because the leading white particle charges because it's hitting everything else, and then all of a sudden it flips. And that's what happens in the red. I can show it here. All right, here it is right here. You may not be able to see that, but there's a bunch of little glowy red spots there. You see them? All right. What's happening is that particle, the bottom one, is hitting that, and it's getting glowing. You see the top one? Nothing, because it's going this direction. And the top one's not getting puffed up like the bottom one. And that's the key. The black don't do anything at all. They're the carriers. They're the pushers. They're the attractors. And this whole job in life is to be attached to that. Or this job's to... They love each other. They love to be attached. And they will not stay apart for very long whatsoever. But they can be separated. All right? And they are separated. After the Venturi hits here, it separates. The black comes away from the white. That's fission. Fission means to break something apart, and that's it. And they come back instantaneously. The black comes back to the white. That's where you get your Higgs fields. This is where your Higgs fields come up. It's not the other way around. It's not they smash and they make Higgs fields over here. It's when they come back together, that's when they make the Higgs fields. All right, now this is the cool thing. There's two ways a Higgs field can be seen. It can be seen because it's accelerating forward, or it can be seen because it's being pushed back at coming forward. These you never even see them. They're just not energetic enough. But when this pushes back at them, the crush of the two coming together makes them glow like crazy. All right, there's a lot of energy going on here, a lot of energy. All right, I'm going to sort of patch this up and finish up on this part. That is light decelerating. The blue is coming in hot, and then it's slowing down. You see it? As the fields expand, that means it's getting slower and slower. And red shifts way out like this. Here's what the fields look like. Blue is like here. All right, and it's spinning, spinning, spinning. And by here you can see that there is two particles, which is the dipole photon. Here you really can't tell, it's just too fast. But it spins like this. Now red is way out here. And this would eventually get to that point. As long down the road here, it's going to bang into enough fields where it will shift into the reds. It'll just keep getting slower and slower and slower. And that's what happens to the red coming towards Earth. It's not being pulled away. It's red shifting because it's slowing down, banging into other particles and absorbing some of its fields. And it's just getting slower. And eventually it becomes the cosmic microwave radiation background. It's just the sitting particles just barely moving out there because they've already used up all their energy from coming from who knows where. And we think we can see way back into the past. You can't. There's all these fields in the way that are blocking all these light particles. As simple as that. These are all the fields that are out in space that are surrounding all these dipole planets and everything that's spinning out here. You see all these dipoles are black and white, black and white, black and white. And then the moon itself is crushing light, causing it to turn blue. It's not spinning, so it doesn't have a field, but it's moving that way, forcing the light to be squeezed and emitting a blue range, which is just the opposite of a redshift. Redshift means you're pulling away from something. The blue shift means you're crushing something, and there it is. And here's all these fields. If you think you can see through those fields and anything coming through that field is not being slowed down, your mind is totally ruined. These are restrictors. They're restrictions. All right, they're resistors in space. They resist the other fields coming through them. No question whatsoever. It isn't even debatable. All right, if you want to read about field effects, read about the Casimir effect. And it's the fields, when they crush the fields together, they push back harder than they're being crushed. All right, you see what I was talking about, the Casimir effect? When a field comes through and pushes every other field, they both get energy. This one is pushing real hard, and it's a big field, big, and everybody's got to get out of the way. Every one of these particles is glowing. You see these little particles glowing? That's because they have fields around them. These are just gases that are in the air and electrons that are in the air. And they get excited because they're being pushed against. That's what energy is push to shove. This is pushing, these are shoving back, and they both get energetic. This one here is the big energy, this one's the little energy. All right, I think I have some other way to show this here. right, and these are the Higgs fields. Remember I talked about these? We could create these all day long. There's thousands and millions and billions of them. This is just like less than a zillionth of a second to see this. And we've got them, and these are only happen when they come back from the pure white, comes back to the black. And then they create these little spinning disks. That's what I found. Not the other way around. Not the other way around. What haven't I shown you? All right, well, this is them coming out again, and they're creating, as these little spritzes come out, they were just white particles here. They were completely ionized. And then it appears that they hit something, a black particle, and then they start spinning and making these disks. And this is looking directly into the Venturi, so they're coming directly at us. There's a lot to discuss about this, but these are the kind of things they're looking for. They're finding, they don't understand. They just don't understand light at all. And they don't understand the dipole electron flood theory. And this is red being pushed out of the way as the green is much more intense, and then it reconcusses out here. So there's absolutely a different intensity to them. The red is much less intense than the green. Now, is there a different actual speed to them? I don't know. And I don't know if anybody knows that. Because when they sample light, you got to sample coherent light, the red, the green, the blue, and then see, are those all the same speed? And they might be, I don't know. I have no idea. But I can tell you one thing, there's a hell of a lot more energy to the green than there is to the red, and there's a hell of a lot more energy to the blue than there is to the green. And then at that point, you lose all your electrons, and then you get into black body radiation. That's a whole nother era. Well, I understand that too. And it just means you don't have any extra electrons left. So don't forget, this goes back to 2016. Light is dark energy until it hits matter and bounces. And I go through the whole thing way back then. That's, what, 7 years ago. And now they are saying that the Dirac could be the dark matter. It's exactly what I said. It is the dark matter. It is the dark matter. It's this black particle right here. And here's the Dirac. It's the Dirac, half of it is the dark matter. And the other half is the glowy stuff that bounces back at you. Now this is tragic. This is in 2029. They're going to be able to see 15 million big Higgs bosons per year. Wow, that's huge. That's fabulous. CERN, you guys are really on top of things. And Fermilab's the same way. So is Lawrence Livermore. All of them, Argon, they will not discuss any of this with me. And I'm showing the particles they're looking for. And they're supposed to be here to help us, not to stand in the way of things. Okay, it's all over the news now. They're all saying they can make lasers much more powerful, and if they can do that without having to add anything, which is what we did, then you should be able to get free energy. So this is what I've been just talking about, and I am cut out of mainstream. They won't listen to anything I have to say because of my Mudfossil research and because of this kind of research, which upends everybody in the peer review system. The peers will not look at it because it's so invasive to what they had said. It makes them kind of look foolish, but they're looking more foolish by not embracing this and saying, whoa, we should take a look at this. No, it's absolute denial of reality by the people we thought were here to help us. They're not here to help us, I'm going to tell you that right now. All right, I love you all. Somebody should step up and speak about these government agencies that will not interact. Absolutely refuse.